It was a piece of news that took the breath away from fans of Pawn Stars. Rumors began to circulate that Richard Kevin Harrison, better known as Rick Harrison, had been sentenced to life in prison. Rick, known for his direct approach to business and his extensive historical knowledge on the show, suddenly found himself at the center of a major legal issue. No one saw it coming. For years, Pawn Stars captivated millions, offering a window into the fascinating world of pawn trading. Rare artifacts, intense negotiations, and everyday drama inside Rick's famous pawn shop in Las Vegas. But now his successful television career has taken a dark and unexpected turn. What could he possibly have done to warrant such a harsh sentence? Join us as we dive into the events that led to this shocking chapter in Rick Harrison's life and examine the details of a case that has stunned the entire country. Richard Kevin Harrison, businessman and American TV personality, was born on March 22, 1965 in Lexington, North Carolina. At just 2 years old, he moved with his family to San Diego, California, where he spent most of his childhood. Diagnosed with epilepsy at the age of 8, Rick had to spend long periods at home, reading books. This routine nurtured a deep love of history and helped him develop an incredible memory, skills that would later become essential in his television career. His childhood wasn't easy. Due to his condition, Rick missed school often and eventually dropped out during his sophomore year of high school. But that setback didn't stop his ambition or his desire to learn. He threw himself into self-education, devouring books on history, economics, and antiques. That discipline turned him into an expert, even without a formal academic background, something that would later set him apart on screen. As a teenager, Rick began working alongside his father in various businesses. It was in that environment that he honed his sharp eye for spotting value and authenticity in objects, skills that would become crucial to his future success. At 17, his then-girlfriend Kim became pregnant, leading them to marry. They had 2 sons, Corey and Adam, before divorcing 8 years later. In 1981, the Harrison family moved to Las Vegas, Nevada, where Rick's father, Richard Benjamin Harrison, known to fans as the Old Man, opened a coin shop called the Gold and Silver Coin Shop. By 1989, that shop evolved into what became the world-famous Gold and Silver Pawn Shop, the central setting of Pawn Stars. This shift was strategic. The Harrisons saw more potential in the pawn business than in coin trading. The early years were tough. Rick and his father worked long hours, fighting to build a reputation in Las Vegas. Rick often had to deal with difficult customers and tense situations, experiences that toughened his character and sharpened his negotiating skills. By the early 2000s, Rick had become a well-known figure in Vegas, especially for his expertise in collectibles and historical items. His shop had become a go-to spot for both locals and tourists searching for rare and valuable items. Seeing entertainment potential in the day-to-day of the store, Rick began pitching the idea of a reality show. After years of rejection and persistence, he finally landed a deal with the History Channel in 2009. Pawn Stars was born, showcasing the daily happenings at the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop. The main cast included Rick, his son Corey, his father the Old Man, and his friend Austin "Chumley" Russell. Together, they evaluated, bought, and sold items of great historical value or questionable origin. The show was an instant hit, turning Rick from a local businessman into a national TV celebrity. His straightforward style, memorable catchphrases, and encyclopedic knowledge of history made him a fan favorite. His iconic line, "The best I can do is," became a pop culture staple every time he negotiated with a customer. What set Pawn Stars apart from other reality shows was its educational aspect, something Rick insisted on maintaining. Each episode included detailed historical information, with Rick providing context and backstory to demonstrate his deep knowledge. This approach drew in a broad audience, making the show one of the History Channel's most successful. Under Rick's leadership, the shop expanded significantly, drawing tourists from around the world, many hoping to appear on the show. Merchandise sales soared, and Rick used his fame to write books, make public appearances, and even open a restaurant. The success of Pawn Stars took Rick to new heights. He appeared on numerous talk shows, graced magazine covers, and was a featured speaker at business events. His rise from humble beginnings to TV stardom resonated with millions of Americans. His honest, no-nonsense business style earned him respect even beyond the entertainment world. As the face of the show, Rick was the voice of reason, often balancing his son Corey's impulsive decisions and Chumley's antics. His relationship with his father, the old man, was marked by mutual respect, built over decades of working side by side. When his father passed away in 2018, Rick honored his legacy by continuing the business with the same values. In his personal life, Rick experienced both stability and change during the height of his fame. After divorcing Kim, he married Tracy Harrison, with whom he was together for 27 years before separating in 2011. 2 years later, in 2013, he married Deanna Burdett in a ceremony officiated by Counting Cars' Danny Coker, with Chumley as ring bearer. Though he kept his family life private, Rick occasionally shared personal moments on the show, revealing a more relatable and human side. He didn't stop at the pawn shop. He expanded his empire by opening Rick's Rollin' Smoke Barbecue and Tavern right next door in Pawn Plaza. In 2011, he also co-wrote a book titled License to Pawn: Deals, Steals, and My Life at the Gold and Silver, where he shared his business philosophy and life story. Always on the lookout for new opportunities, Rick stayed active as an entrepreneur, branching into various ventures. Throughout his career, he had an extraordinary ability to find value where others didn't. On Pawn Stars, audiences watched him appraise everything from historical documents to classic cars, antique weapons, and modern collectibles. While he often brought in experts to verify items outside his expertise, it showed his sound business judgment, knowing when to call in specialists. Over the years, Rick made countless purchases. Some were brilliant deals, others not so much. He had a particular knack for firearms, watches, and US historical memorabilia. One of his most famous purchases was a 2001 New England Patriots Super Bowl ring, which he bought for $2,600, even though it was worth much more. Another highlight was a set of Spanish gold doubloons recovered from a 1715 shipwreck, merging his love for history and precious metals. But not everything was positive in his career. Like many public figures, Rick's life wasn't free of controversy, much of it stemming from his own decisions. In 2023, a dark chapter began when federal agents raided his Las Vegas home as part of an ongoing investigation. At first, the public didn't know why, fueling waves of speculation online. The raid shocked fans and those close to Rick. FBI agents, accompanied by IRS investigators and officials from the Department of Cultural Heritage Protection, executed search warrants at both his home and pawn shop. During the operation, employees and customers were briefly detained while agents seized computers, documents, and inventory. Corey, who was at the store during the raid, described it as something straight out of a movie. Witnesses said Rick remained calm as he was escorted from his home. Neighbors recorded the scene on their phones, and the footage quickly spread across the internet. As more details emerged, authorities revealed they were investigating a sophisticated scheme involving tax evasion, money laundering, high-value item trafficking, and the trade of illegally obtained artifacts. Suspicious reports from financial institutions and former business associates had triggered the probe. The History Channel quickly suspended production of Pawn Stars and issued a brief statement saying they were monitoring the situation. The gold and silver pawn shop remained open but saw a clear drop in customers. The legal cloud hanging over Rick was beginning to affect business. At first, Rick's representatives denied any wrongdoing, calling the investigation a misunderstanding that would soon be cleared up. His attorney, David Marshall, a well-known Vegas lawyer who often represented celebrities, publicly stated that Rick had always operated his business with integrity and within the law. But as the investigation progressed, troubling evidence began to surface. Authorities claimed they had uncovered evidence that Rick was involved in a complex operation to intentionally undervalue certain historical items for tax purposes, while selling them privately at full market value. Investigators also alleged that Rick had knowingly purchased stolen artifacts, including historically significant documents and items believed to have been taken from museums and private collections. According to later unsealed court documents, the investigation was partially fueled by a whistleblower, an ex-employee who had worked closely with Rick during high-value acquisitions. This whistleblower provided authorities with information about a parallel accounting system Rick allegedly maintained to hide off-the-books transactions. Rick was arrested but released on bail the following day and ordered to appear in court. He faced multiple felony charges, including tax evasion, money laundering, trafficking in stolen property, and conspiracy to trade illegally obtained cultural artifacts. His lawyer, David Marshall, reiterated that Rick categorically denied all allegations and vowed to fight to clear his name in court. The legal proceedings dragged on for nearly a year. Throughout it all, Rick maintained his innocence. But as more evidence surfaced and former associates began testifying, his legal situation grew increasingly precarious. The prosecution presented financial records, encrypted messages, and testimony from ex-employees who claimed Rick had instructed them to falsify documentation for high-value items. They also submitted evidence that Rick had allegedly opened offshore accounts to hide profits from particularly lucrative deals. One of the most damning pieces of evidence was a series of text messages between Rick and an unidentified supplier, in which they discussed how to clean the origin of a 17th century document believed to have been stolen from a university archive. In another conversation, Rick allegedly talked about how to structure a sale in a way that would avoid mandatory cash transaction reporting requirements. During pre-trial hearings, Rick remained defiant. He appeared on conservative radio shows, claiming he was being targeted for his political views and business success. His fans organized support campaigns with hashtags like #FreeRick and staged protests outside the courthouse during proceedings. But the biggest shock came when Rick was found guilty. The now public arrest report revealed a side of Rick that few had imagined. The man who had been admired for years as a straight-shooting businessman and lover of history now appeared to have a calculated, hidden side that rocked his long-standing image. His legal troubles revealed a darker profile that left many fans and viewers questioning everything they thought they knew about him. The surprises didn't stop there. While many were quick to condemn Rick based on media coverage, others called for compassion. In times of hardship, they argued people need support the most. Loyal fans formed online groups to defend him, insisting that no matter the charges, Rick had positively impacted their lives by sparking an interest in history through the show. "Rick made me care about history in a way school never could," wrote one supporter. "Now it's our turn to show him we haven't forgotten all the good he's done." Some began collecting signatures and messages of encouragement to send to Rick in prison. Others even launched donation campaigns to help cover his legal expenses. The most emotional moment came in the courtroom. The room fell completely silent as the sentence was read: life in prison. Rick, who had stayed composed until then, visibly broke down. His son Corey, sitting directly behind him, buried his face in his hands. Chumley, who had attended every day of the trial to support his mentor and friend, rushed out of the courtroom in tears. The sentence stunned even legal experts, many of whom considered it disproportionately harsh for nonviolent crimes. But the judge was clear. The sentence reflected not just financial wrongdoing, but what he called irreparable damage to cultural and historical heritage. "You have presented yourself to the American public as a guardian of history," the judge stated during the final hearing. "Someone who values the stories behind objects and recognizes their importance to our collective memory. But in reality, you participated in the plundering and systematic destruction of irreplaceable cultural sites for personal gain." This court cannot overlook the gravity of those acts. Following the sentencing, Rick's legal team immediately filed an appeal, arguing that the punishment was excessive and unconstitutional for non-violent offenses. They also requested that Rick be allowed to remain free on bail during the appeal process, but that request was denied. The image of Rick being handcuffed and escorted by federal marshals made national headlines and trended across social media. Public reaction was mixed. Many longtime fans expressed disbelief, convinced that a terrible mistake had been made. Others, particularly in academic and cultural heritage circles, praised the verdict as a strong message against the illegal trafficking of historical artifacts. Rick's situation sparked a wave of unprecedented solidarity among Pawn Stars fans. The Hearts for Harrison campaign gathered over 100,000 signatures on a petition to review the case. Organizers argued that the sentence did not align with similar cases. "We're not saying he shouldn't face consequences if he broke the law," explained campaign spokesperson Melissa Jenkins. "But life in prison for non-violent crimes isn't justice, it's vengeance." They encouraged the public to sign the petition or donate to Rick's legal fund. "Every word of support, every kind message, every dollar counts," Corey Harrison declared. "My father made mistakes, but he doesn't deserve to die in prison. He deserves a chance to make things right." The History Channel acted quickly. It officially cancelled Pawn Stars and immediately pulled all reruns from its programming schedule. In a formal statement, the network expressed disappointment in Rick's actions and reaffirmed its commitment to protecting and respecting historical and cultural heritage. Although Rick's public image was shattered, his legacy in both television and the porn industry remains undeniable. Before his legal troubles, Rick had built a true empire. In addition to the shop, he had opened multiple restaurants and bars in Las Vegas, with plans to expand into other cities. His business vision, eye for value, and charisma had taken him to the top of the entertainment world. Despite his fall from grace, his impact endures. The gold and silver pawn shop, now run solely by his son Corey Harrison, remains a Las Vegas tourist destination. While there was a noticeable drop in visitors at first, Corey has worked hard to rebuild the store's reputation. He repositioned the business with a focus on transparency, forming partnerships with museums and educational institutions to promote responsible collecting practices. In an interview 6 months after his father's conviction, Corey spoke candidly about the challenges of keeping the family business afloat under public scrutiny. "We've implemented strict protocols to verify the origin of every item we buy," he explained. "What happened was wrong, but now we want to be part of the solution, not the problem." Chumley also spoke out publicly. He had always considered Rick a mentor and father figure. "I learned so much from him. Business lessons I'll carry for the rest of my life," he admitted on a podcast. "But I've also had to come to terms with the fact that there was a side of him I didn't know, or maybe didn't want to see. It's been hard." It's been a difficult time for the Harrison family, but their focus remains clear: rebuild their reputation, save the business, and stand by Rick as he pursues his appeal. Now fully at the helm of the family empire, Corey has surprised many with his mature business leadership, shedding the impulsive image he once had on the show. "This store has been part of Las Vegas for over 30 years, he said at a recent press conference. "And I'm determined to make sure it's still here 30 years from now. My dad taught me everything I know about this business. I'm holding on to the good parts of that education, and that's what I want to build on." The support from fans has been vital. "Their messages have been a lifeline for our dad," Corey said. "He reads every letter he gets and finds strength knowing there are still people out there who believe in him, despite everything." Every Sunday, the family organizes prayer circles outside the shop where fans gather to show solidarity. For those who can't travel to Las Vegas, they're encouraged to send postcards or photos recalling their favorite moments from the show. Simple gestures, but ones that mean the world to a man facing his darkest hours. Rick Harrison's transformation has been as dramatic as it is heartbreaking. From pawn shop owner to television star, successful entrepreneur, and now a convicted man serving a life sentence. His story to many feels like a modern tragedy. Some cultural commentators even compare it to a Shakespearean drama, a man with deep knowledge of the past, whose passion for historical artifacts ultimately led to his downfall. Beyond the scandal, his case serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of success, the temptations of power, and the fine line between clever business and criminal behavior. And as his appeal moves forward, the world watches closely, waiting to see how this gripping saga will end. A story that has shaken the foundation of reality TV and left a family struggling to move forward without their most iconic figure. If you were ever a fan of porn stars, if Rick ever made you laugh, taught you something, or moved you with the stories behind the items on his counter, now is when he needs your support the most. You can send your positive thoughts, prayers, or messages of encouragement. The Harrison family has created a website where you can leave words that will be delivered directly to Rick in prison. That small gesture, no matter how insignificant it may seem, could be the ray of light he needs in this darkest chapter of his life. According to a family statement, Rick has always deeply valued the support of his fans. Knowing they still stand by him, now more than ever, means everything to him.